Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Louisa Nicola. I'm a neurophysiologist and human performance coach. I'm the founder of Neuroathletics, where our mission is to democratize brain health education so you can perform better, think faster, and live longer. And joining me on today's show is Jason Khalipa. Jason was the 2008 CrossFit Champion and received the Spirit of the Games Award at the 2009 CrossFit Games. He's also the CEO and founder of NCFIT. And today's episode is really about the power of exercise, and not from a scientific or medical standpoint. No, team, today's episode is far more than that. It is about resiliency. Jason shares his unbelievable story and struggles of his daughter being diagnosed with leukemia and how he still got up each and every day and put in the reps, which helped him overcome months of being stuck in a hospital by his daughter's bedside. Jason is really inspiring. And if there's anything that you're going through, whatever that might be, just know this: the power of exercise far outweighs the science and medical. No, team, exercise can really push you to be the best version of yourself. It can get you out of difficult situations. It can change your mindset in more ways than you can even imagine. So if you are struggling with anything, and even starting, by the way, or if you're going through anything right now, this episode is truly for you. It will inspire you to walk, run, lift, and push heavy things. I hope you enjoy this one. Jason, someone who has been dubbed as the fittest man on earth, which, by the way, congratulations. I want to know, with all of the adversity that you've been through, and you've gone through some really tough shit in your life with your daughter, which I'm more than happy for you to open up with, but with all the adversity that you've gone through, all the heartbreak or the misery, how do you still get up every day and work out as if your life depends on it?
Because it does, like, in my opinion, right? Like, it's like, what other option do you have but then to exercise and stay fit for your family? I like to think about this idea, like, my sole goal right now is to be as fit and as capable as I can be as a husband, as a father, so I could protect myself and my family, run, jump, climb, lift, like that's necessary, and provide. Like, I want to be able to provide experiences for my kids. Like, I never want to have to say no to them because I don't have the fitness to be able to do things with them. Like, my son's like, let's go play football. It's like, let's go. And working out every day, training, allows me to show up better for my family and my friends because I'm more energized, I'm less stressed, I'm the best version of myself. And it provides me the tools, fitness-wise, to be able to be the most jacked grandpa in the world years from now. And that's my long-term goal. It's no longer to win the CrossFit Games. It's now to be able to do those things with my kids.
Yeah, and obviously you're not training at the same level as you once were when you were, competing as a CrossFit athlete. But look, my stance is and everyone listening to this understands this, their exercise should be a vital sign. I really think that when you go to your annual physical, doctors should be looking at this the same way that they look at blood pressure. Right? You go to the doctor's office if you're going to a good PCP, you go to your physical, they do a number of different checks on you. One of them is checking your blood pressure, but never do they say to you strictly, how many times have you exercised this week? How many times have you been resistance training? How many times have you been doing your cardio? They don't check on this. I do think that exercise warrants a medical discussion. And if we reverse engineer that and we say, okay, great, Louisa, I know that I need to exercise, but listen, I've got so much trauma that I'm going through right now. I've just gone through a divorce and I just cannot pick myself up and go to the gym. How do you get past that? Or look, let's not even talk about you because you are one of a kind. Let's talk about what you see. You own a lot of gyms, brick and mortar gyms. You've also got a huge online community built around fitness. So let's talk about some of the people that you've actually seen. I'm sure you've seen people go through something significant in their life. It shakes them up and they feel unmotivated to work out.
Yeah, well, I think first off, back to your point about the doctor's visit, you're totally right. It's so interesting now that you think about it. They check your blood pressure, check your heart rate, they check all these different things. They ask you, how many drinks are you having in a week and blah, blah. but they never ask you, hey, how often are you exercising? How often are you elevating your heart rate? How often are you adding external load to your body? And it's like, man, you could learn a lot from someone who says, yeah, I don't at all. It's like, well, we should probably start doing that. So to answer your question, there are certain people that are, thrive off fitness, and myself included, right? Like if I don't work out, I don't feel right. I think what each person needs to reflect on is like, what is their why? Like, why do they want to work out in the first place? And if it's deep and if it's rooted, then they'll continue to do that for a long time. And what I think is interesting about fitness is that a lot of people know that if they work out, they'll probably have better health markers. That's pretty much almost guaranteed. Most people know that if they work out, that they will gear themselves to a physique that's more in line with what they want. Whatever that physique might be, they'll be chasing it down. But what I don't think gets enough attention is the benefit of fitness in terms of what it could do for your mindset, in terms of understanding what's in your control, out of your control, overcoming adversity, micro doses in the gym. Because intentionally doing hard things makes real life hard things easier to overcome. And I think that if people can understand that, it's another motivational factor. And to add to that, I think that people put fitness on a pedestal and they give it like this, like they like to talk about it, but they don't want to do it because it seems like this like really big feat to accomplish. But all fitness is it just has to start with doing something. It could be a walk. It could be a loaded walk with the backpack on with the rucksack, right? It could be a 10-minute AMRAP, as many reps as possible. You don't need a lot of time to get an effective workout. And I think that we need to demystify that in the fitness space because it's been known as like, oh man, I don't have time to work out. So they just immediately shut it down. But what if I told you can get a really effective stimulus in 10, 15, 20 minutes by doing burpees or doing something that'll, get all the benefits you're looking for. So I think it's breaking down with this group of people that there's so many auxiliary benefits to fitness that we don't even talk about. And two, it's not putting it on some like pedestal. It's just like, you got to do something. It could be simple to be effective. That's it.
I love what you just said there. So many people put fitness on a pedestal, meaning I don't have time to go to the gym today because I don't have a gym membership, or I don't have time to work out today because I've just got so much going on. I don't have time, or I just cannot be bothered going out and sprinting or lifting weights you're right. We put it on a pedestal when literally your brain and your heart don't know the difference between you running on a treadmill outside or you just running on the spot in front of your fridge. Like you actually made a point there.
Yeah, well, 100%. So like what happens with me, so every week I host free men's club workouts because my goal is to help foster a sense of a stronger community within my local community. Obviously we own the gyms and all that kind of stuff too. But one of the things that I incorporate, especially for these men, is hill sprinting. Like we meet in the morning at 5 a.m. and we just do 30 minutes of hill sprints and you're exhausted. Your body gets this phenomenal stimulus where it says, holy crap, what just happened to me? I want to create adaptation. And it's a sign of longevity. For some of these men, they haven't sprinted in a decade or 2 decades. Well, what if they have to run after their kid? What if they have to perform some physical task? And so doing something is always better than nothing. And this idea that I have is this concept of never zero. So what's really difficult to get back on let's just say you're pushing a sled and the sled stops. To restart it, it's very difficult. But if you just kept going, right, the object just continues to move forward. And I find that if you take a day off of training, it's not that hard to get back. If you take 2, 3, 5, 7, the more days you do 0, the harder it is to get back. So if your mentality is every day, I'm going to do something. So let's just say today you're tired, you're busy, you're traveling to Australia or whatever happens. Well, maybe your workout is walking back and forth on an airplane, for example. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's your never zero mentality. So that when you get to wherever you're going, you've continued to build that momentum and you don't have this sedentary concept of oh, well, shit, I couldn't get in something today. Then it easily turns into, well, yesterday it was down. I'm just not going to do anything today. Or the Super Bowl was yesterday, so I'm going to do nothing today. And then all of a sudden it turns into, man, I feel like crap from the last 2 days. I'm not going to do it tomorrow. But if you have this mentality of never zero, even if that's a walk or whatever, it keeps your momentum going.
Yeah, and actually on the sprinting, conversation, I think that's really great, and that warrants a discussion too. As we age, we tend to lose our fast twitch muscle fibers. They're the
For
first
sure.
to go, and those are the anaerobic fibers that are involved in plyometrics and sprinting. So, and this is what we tend to not do. I know for myself, I would rather, to be completely honest, I would not rather jump on a box. I would not rather sprint. I would rather just go for a long walk and ruck. I love the idea of rucking. I love it so much. And weight vests. I live in New York City and I live in Manhattan. There are no hills here. When I go to Australia, there are so many hills, right? So I'm constantly up and down hills. So I think rucking, especially here in New York, is great. But that I love the fact that you are engaging in a practice that is not only beneficial from a community perspective, but also from a longevity and health and physiology perspective.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about, so I rucked this morning. So I do 30-minute walks in the morning with a rucksack on. It does make a big difference, right? You can just throw 20, 30. I use a Go Ruck backpack that has like 45 pounds in it. But the key there is adding external load. So we talk about as you age, we typically see certain things go down. One of the biggest things that I see as people age is definitely losing the ability to sprint, run, 100%, but also the inability to incorporate an external load, like that even being their own body weight at full range of motion, squat, lift, press, but also adding in a load. And so what I found is that people, as soon as you give them even a light dumbbell or kettlebell to do front squats with, or to do some type of loading exercise with, they have a very difficult time maintaining position or even getting in a full range or even lifting it up in the first place. And so a very easy recommendation is, even if you take a backpack and you put it in on your back and you just do squats that way, you're at least incorporating external load that is going to stimulate you and have your body be like, holy shit, what happened? And now it wants to create adaptation. So those are the things that I see people missing: external loading, and then also like plyometric type stuff like you were talking about.
Yeah, well, you've got another thing to add here. You've also added the fact that there is an education piece that people are missing, thinking that fitness is something other than literally what it is, which is just moving your body. So you can do any of this in the comfort of your own home. But sadly, there is a statistic that shows that around 80% of Americans are actually not meeting the physical activity guidelines. So something must be wrong.
For sure. And I mean, if you look at our youth, it's the exact same way. The sedentary lifestyle, it's gonna be really detrimental. And it's not just detrimental for our ability to function, like, get on the ground, get back up again, but it's also detrimental, in my opinion, from a mindset perspective. I think like the greatest gift the CrossFit Games has ever given me, and I've competed in a lot of events, and I've won and I've lost, and I've been through some tough workouts and whatever. But it's learning that my body, if I want to do 5 push-ups, but I tell myself to do 7 and I break through, all of a sudden that confidence that I'm earning carries over into real life. And I feel like if people just if I could just give them a pill to know what it feels like, that meaning, like when you're done with a hard workout and you've accomplished something, and then that energy and that ability where your mindset is free, if I could just let them know what that feels like, damn, it'd be great, but we can't, right? So they need to go out there and they need to train hard to feel those benefits as well, mentally as well as physically.
I think also people go really hard too fast, and working your way up. I mean, in 2021, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try CrossFit. Joined up at a CrossFit gym, and I think I injured myself on the very first day. I don't know what I did, but threw my back out. I'm like, what? How unfit am I? But it actually wasn't that. It was the fact that I went crazy. And so I think the best method for anybody listening, if they're struggling with getting moving and actually getting into working out, it would be starting really slow. And by slow, you can just start with walking for 20 minutes a day. That's really a start, because it is not zero, as you pointed out.
That's right. And then all of a sudden you kind of earn your confidence. Then you go from walking to maybe you're like, dude, I've been doing this every day for a month. I'm ready to add in a little jog and then a walk. And then all of a sudden it just kind of builds momentum. And what I would encourage people to think about from a high level perspective is like functional capacity. So like thinking about like, what does life's demands look like for me? Well, I need to lift off stuff off the ground. I need to lower and raise my center of mass. I need to press overhead potentially. And over time, how do I start incorporating those in a fitness routine so that when life does demand those things, I'm capable of doing them? And that's the best way that I look at fitness is like fitness in the gym or the garage or wherever you train at should make a positive impact on your life to be able to function better, to be able to keep up with your kids better, to be able to feel better.
Yeah, I refer to fitness as a retirement plan. And every single day that you do it, you are putting into your retirement plan for when you are 65. And that's where the real damage, the damage starts occurring. I believe I haven't hit 40s yet, but I know that the damage, in the scientific literature shows that there is a steep decline in VO2 max, in cardio, respiratory fitness, like this starts to decline. Even muscle mass per decade starts to decline. So I can only imagine what it's like at around 65 when most people are retiring, depending on which country you're from and your socioeconomic status. So that's how I relate to it. Okay, so I'm happy that we did that. I want to also I want to shed some light on your story because it hasn't been an easy journey for you. It's been a rough journey. And I'd love for you to just share, something that you've gone through, some adversity where you've used fitness to help you overcome that adversity.
Yeah, I think a good place to start is that like everyone listening to this has gone through something in their life, and everyone. And my worst day is not different or better or worse than your worst day. They're equivalent because that's your worst. And hopefully someone's worst day was like, getting pulled over or, getting in a fender bender. Hopefully, if that was the worst day that's ever happened to you, then, good for you. But sometimes things come up, right? Like my daughter was diagnosed with leukemia in 2016. Definitely, changed our life in many different ways. And we're still struggling here today with additional effects from that experience. But the one thing that's in my control, especially when you spent as many months in the hospital as we did, was maintaining my fitness and using fitness as an outlet to not only improve my life, but also bring positive energy back into the room. So I took a truck, I loaded it up with a bunch of barbells and dumbbells and anything I could think of. I kept it parked at the hospital for months, and I would just go out there and just go crush a workout and then run back to the room. And that to me was a freeing thing because it was something I was in control of. I was able to be present and focused on this thing, even for a short period of time, which then allowed me to be more present and focused on the other things when I was done with it. And I think that it's this idea of AMRAP mentality that I talk about. Like an AMRAP is as many reps or as many rounds as possible. That's a type of workout. If I said, hey, do as many reps as you can in a minute of like burpees, you wouldn't like answer your phone. You wouldn't do anything else. You'd just be present and focused. And so the way I like to segment my day is like being present and focused. Like right now I'm here with you. Then earlier today I was rucking. Then I'll go to work. Then I'll do this. And I try and be present and focused and switch gears. And what fitness allowed me to do was it allowed me to free my mind, give me an opportunity to kind of be present and focus on something else so I could show up better for those that I love around me. And, talking about your retirement plan, here's an interesting thing to think about. Like, it doesn't take long for you to become like unable to walk. Like, and I never realized this until I saw it. So my daughter was bedridden for like a little while. I want to say it was like, and you know probably better than I, but like I wanted to say it was like a week or two. She did not get out of bed. And the ability that you lose so quickly is like fascinating.
Oh, yes.
And so the idea here, and for me too, is like when things come up in life, like it's out of your control. But what's in your control today is having great relationships so that you can lean on other people when things get tough. Working really hard so you can build a financial hedge so that if something does happen, you have that cushion, but also investing into this long-term retirement plan of your fitness where that's in our control today. So if something happens in real life, dude, you got a hedge. Like if something happens to me today, I got weeks, months before I fall into this sick category. But if I was already on that kind of tinkering on that line, it's very quick to fall into that sick category. I might need to be on blood pressure medication or whatever it might be. So I want to build a hedge in each one of these areas. And that's what that experience really taught me.
Yeah, that's a great point. I refer to this as reserve. You do have to have a lot of reserve. It's like every single day filling up a bucket of water just in case there is a drought, and you have that reserve, all of that water there to go through a 2-week drought, because you never know what can happen. And you're like, maybe you're bedridden. Maybe it's just as small as, hey, you broke your leg. I don't know. And you are bedridden and you lose so much muscle mass. It is unbelievable. And not to mention the neuromuscular component that comes with actual training as well. There's so much loss in function, and adaptability is great. But like you said, you're just building for that. But I think one of the things that I get what's really hard for me is I have 2 types of memberships for gyms, and I'm a runner. I love running, so that's great. But when I go to my Equinox, right, that's really, I don't even know what the hell I'm in there, but I'm on my phone.
Right.
So there is that. You say to me right now, you just got to go there and be present. It's really hard for me, right? For me, everyone's different. I feel like I'm more present when I'm doing like a group functional workout, because there's music on, there's a trainer, there's 10 other one. I don't have time to just get on my phone.
That's right. Well, I mean, think about it this way. Like, one of the reasons why I love jiu-jitsu so much, or even taking class at our gym, is that there is no other option. Like, you're choosing to go in there and be present and focused, especially in jiu-jitsu. Like, if you're not present and focused, you're going to get choked. But to your point at Equinox, here's something that helps me. So I train a lot in our garage. And it's very efficient because I have a garage gym. I can go in there, boom, bang it out. It's not for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But
what type of equipment? Have you got techno gym?
No. I have all rogue, like functional, like, I got a squat rack and a assault bike and that kind of stuff. But it's a rugged, like, aggressive setup that I just go in there and I just like get after it. But to your point, one of the best things that I do is, as soon as I walk into the garage, immediately I get on a bike. So like, as soon as you walk into Equinox, like, there is no other option, but you get on a treadmill and you start jogging. And the reason why I bring that up is, like, as soon as you start jogging and you're not like scrolling or checking email or whatever you're doing, your brain starts getting this endorphin dump already, where you're like we're dopamine, like you start to feel like, okay, all right. And then all of a sudden, after 5 minutes, 8 minutes jogging, you're like, all right, I'm ready to go. This is just me talking, by the way. All right, I'm ready to go smash it. So I'll walk into the garage. I'll immediately get on a bike, put the phone to the side. I'll start kind of speeding it up. And then all of a sudden, I'll start kind of feeling it. And then boom, that sets me up for a really successful session. Versus if I walk in there and don't do that, then I find that I don't start for at least 30 more minutes.
So then, for anybody listening who is at the point where they're either going through something, or they're making a change to their fitness routine, or they're just struggling to get back into the gym, would you say that the first point of call is, first, just get moving, do anything, right? But then would it be structure your workouts, like have a plan? Because I know for me, if I have a plan when I go into the Equinox, I'm more than likely going to do that, rather than just aimlessly walking in there being like, oh, there's a treadmill, there's a bike.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, I think that, it's just like anything in life, identify people that know a lot more than you about that particular subject, and then allow them to support you. So if you're new on your journey, like, the never zero mindset is a great way to go. Like, start off, just start walking. Maybe you're feeling it, you start doing a few push-ups. Maybe you're feeling it, you start adding in a couple of squats. Like, great, that's awesome. But then once you build that earned confidence, where like it's gone 3 to 5 days a week for a month, you're like, all right, well, I've already put in my dues. What I don't think is the smart idea is to go too fast, too soon. I've seen this so many times. I started off at my fitness career. I was 16. I started working at a traditional health club at the front desk, like an Equinox. And every January, that gym was cracking. And then a month or two down the line, the parking lot was empty. And it was always a good reminder to me that it's so easy to feel this inspiration at a specific time. But what you really need to do is start creating more habits and more consistency. So if you are listening to this and you're newer to the game, just do something that's very, very achievable. Be like, look, I'm not going to drink soda and I'm going to walk 3 days a week. Hell yeah, if that's better than what you've been doing. And then you habit stack, you layer on top of that. But I don't think the way to go is be like, dude, I'm going to eat full paleo. I'm going carnivore and I'm trying to do CrossFit every day. It's just a recipe for disaster. So after you've built your confidence doing your walking or whatever you're doing, then I think finding a program. Obviously, I think that if you are interested in more of a functional type training, I think our Train Hard app is a great option because you can just go on there, see your workout and do it. But there's plenty of others that could also support you.
Yeah, and a few episodes ago, for everyone listening, we had Dr. Sue Varma. She's a psychiatrist on, and she spoke about the science of habit forming. Let me tell you, there's a lot more to it than just saying, oh, I've got a habit. There's a lot of science that goes into it and a lot of neural chemistry. But I want to also just point out there's an area in the brain, and right now I'm a bit dumbfounded. I can't remember it, but there is an area in the brain that basically what happens is, and it's also part of this dopamine loop, but if you do something hard, it doesn't matter what it is. If you really push, when you're doing those 6 reps you mentioned, but you're like, I'm just going to do the 7, and that 7th one is like it feels like you've just hit the biggest milestone. Your brain remembers that, and it remembers that little push, that tiny little moment where you found every ounce of energy, whether it was physical, mental, neurological, to push through that barrier, get to the 7th rep. Your brain remembers that, and it takes that into other areas of life. For example, the following day, you could be sitting at your desk and you're like, don't eat the cookie that they have in the kitchen. Don't eat it. And you'll have an easier time not eating it based on that last rep.
Yeah, I mean, from a brain receptor perspective, neurologically, I mean, obviously that's an area where you have a unique expertise, but I've seen that there's so many parallels here. One of the reasons why I think CrossFit got really popular is because it started to unlock certain parts of people's brains where they were doing more complex skills. So instead of looking at fitness as just like squats, push-ups, and this kind of like generic, like overall thing, we started learning skills like handstand push-ups, snatching, clean and jerking, rope climbing. And they started unlocking this concept of like goal achievement and complexity. And that's what I find in jiu-jitsu that's uniquely there, is that every day you're not only getting a good workout and having fun, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, you're learning something new. And I think for certain people, that is very inspirational for them. So if you haven't tried jiu-jitsu, it's a great, great option.
Also great for the brain, because learning new tasks is incredibly good for a better aging brain, because as we get older, we start to lose different areas in our brain because we're not using them. And our brain pretty much has this motto that is use me or lose me. So you start losing brain cells if you're not using every single part of it. And we stop doing that. Like I always use the analogy, I don't climb trees anymore, but I did when I was little. So that's that. I really like that thinking. Okay, Jason Khalipa, where can more people find out about you? You've got an app, you've got a gym, you've got a podcast. Where do we go?
Yeah, I mean, I think Instagram at Jason Khalipa is a good start. From there, if you're looking for, a great training app, we have 3 programs. One that I like to refer to as like a solid strength conditioning that helps you act the part. It's called Force, which is like a good baseline strength conditioning program. One that helps you look the part. It's called Flex. It's a functional bodybuilding. And then one that basically never allows you to hit 0, which is an EMOM, every minute on the minute program. And that's 30 minutes or less a day. And that one's really solid as well. So that's underneath the Train Hard app. And if you're in the Bay Area, come visit one of our NCFIT gyms. And if you want to check out the podcast, it's Jason Khalipa. We talk about all things dad and just stuff that's going on in my life. And that's it. That's what I got.
Jason Khalipa, thank you so much for being part of the Neuro Experience podcast.
Thank you.